Logitech is at it again. This is the all-new G915 wireless RGB mechanical gaming keyboard. Hey everybody, this is Chris with Overclockersclub. That's right, the new Logitech G915. This is an amazing keyboard, and it's so new, I think the ink might still be wet on the box. So let's open it up and see what it looks like. So one of the first things you'll want to do if you happen to purchase this keyboard is go to the Logitech website and download their G-Hub software and install it. And after you've done that, you can plug your keyboard in and start using it. Of course, it'll work without the software, but you won't be able to take advantage of any of the cool RGB control and other features. So now we can open the box and see what it looks like. It's nice. Overlay, it says Logitech on it. Keyboard out here. And then looking in the box, we have a USB charging cable, and a little transmitter receiver dongle there to plug into a USB port. And then here a cool Logitech G sticker. Some more information here showing some other products in the family line there, and a little quick start guide here. And your warranty information. So before I really tear into the keyboard here, I did want to point something out on the box that was interesting. Logitech has done a very nice job with their packaging. They actually have engineers whose career is made by designing boxes and packaging, and this is an example of something that a packaging engineer might design. So it's a nice vacuum form tray. It has all the shapes to conform to the different components so that they are held firmly and securely during shipping. And then looking actually at the back of the box, there's some interesting information back here. First thing, we've got the little battery symbol, says 30 hours, and we'll talk about that a little later because there are limitations to battery life as with any battery powered device. But the first thing here is LIGHTSPEED wireless. Now the print's really small, so I'll just read it real quick here. LIGHTSPEED wireless is a super fast and reliable wireless connectivity with 1 millisecond report rate. Game up for up to 30 hours on one battery charge. And we have LightSync RGB. Of course, everything has RGB these days. So LightSync technology provides next generation RGB lighting that synchronizes lighting and game profiles with your content. Personalize each key and create custom animations from 16.8 million colors with Logitech G-Hub software. Of course, you want to install that software first. We've got the switches here, GL Clicky. G915 is the first keyboard with our new high-performance, low-profile mechanical gaming switches. The GL Clicky switch features a distinctive sound and tactile feedback. Also available GL tactile or linear, sold separately. And finally, we've got the aluminum magnesium construction here. The G915 is crafted from incredibly strong and durable 5052 aluminum magnesium, and that's a special alloy, which allows for both a minimal design and beautiful aesthetic. The rigidity of the 5052 alloy allows the 915 to be incredibly thin and refined with meticulous construction. And you can see that just by looking at it. This thing sits right at about 20 millimeters high when it's flat on the table. And the first thing I'll look at, one of my pet peeves with keyboards, is the feet and how well the feet are constructed, because I've had keyboards over the years where the little feet at the corners will break off. One of the corner connections will break off and the keyboard wobbles all over the table. So looking at this, looks like we actually have two different settings. We've got 4 degree and 8 degree. So a little 4 degree one pops, and these do appear to be much more robust than what I've seen on older keyboards in the past. And it has an embedded rubber foot along that whole bottom. And if we want to go for 8 degrees, we just flip up the larger foot, and it also has a similar rubber insert there. Keep it from scooting around. And there's one actually on the bottom, so that if you don't want to use either one of the elevating feet there, it'll keep it from sliding around the table. And we have the rubber pads. Looks like in 3 positions along that side. And looking at the back in a little more detail, below this label, this panel right here comes off so that you can access the battery. And we'll look at that here a little later. Now the back is smooth. It does have kind of a matte finish to it. We got some screws across the back there. But looking at the top, I'll get the camera down here so we can get a little better look. Fun fact, Logitech designed these special low-profile keys, and they used a special triple paint process along with laser etching to get a very crisp, clear graphic on the keys. And they also use a special anti-oil coating that's UV cured to resist smudges and stuff sticking to the surface of the keys. Makes cleanup a breeze, so you can restore your keyboard to this nice fresh look. And you'll also resist getting those shiny spots that you often see, especially on your most used keys. Now, I'm actually a little curious here. There's a power button, a little power switch right there. So let's just see what happens. Oh, looky there. It has a charge already, and I have not charged it. So that's just a residual charge from the factory. And it defaults to a sort of a rainbow color wave across there. And even the little Logitech logo up there, the G logo, is included. Now I'll go ahead and get this plugged in, or connected, I should say, to my system so that we can get it communicating with the G-Hub software and start checking out some of the features. I do like this here. This is your volume roller. Very little resistance, nice smooth, consistent feel to it. So now let's see what it takes to get this connected. In the event that you would ever need to change the battery, the screws you access by peeling the corner of the label up, like I did there with a razor blade. And there are 2 screws, one under each corner. And once you've loosened them, which I already have done, the battery can be removed. Now it's plugged in. I'm not going to unplug it. I just wanted to show how accessible it is. And there's the back side of it there. And then I'll pop it back on there. So I got the G-Hub software installed, and after you plug the keyboard in, it is recognized and it shows up here as the G915. But as far as connectivity goes, we have the standard charging cable, so you can charge your battery and you are connected to your system, so you can use it that way, just like a standard wired keyboard. We also have the receiver here, the old standard receiver. You can plug that into your computer, or you actually have this option. You can plug it into here, and then you can move this around anywhere you want. So if you want to put it closer to the keyboard for a better connection, stronger signal, or you can put it behind your monitor if you want to tuck it away. Those are your options there. You also have the Bluetooth, so if you want to pair your system up using Bluetooth, you can do that. Another cool thing is that after about 6 minutes of complete inactivity, the keyboard will go to sleep, or at least the RGB goes to sleep. And as soon as you touch any key, it comes back to life at full strength. And after about a minute of no activity, the lights will dim down a little bit, and it will stay that way for another 5 minutes, and then it will just completely go dark. And that's an energy saving method to save the battery. So it's been idle for about a minute, and the lights don't look all that dim, but as soon as I touch one here, you should see it brighten up. And it is noticeably brighter. So that just shows you how it goes into that partial energy saving mode by dimming the lights. And of course you have the option with this button right here to dim the keyboard down also. So there it is, pretty much dark, and we can turn it on. There's full strength, and each time you push it, it reduces just a little bit until it goes out. There's a little Logitech G915 logo at the top corner there. Logitech spent a lot of time designing this keyboard to get it as thin as possible. And a lot of times you have to take material out. So you have to go with a stronger material. So they've used a special aluminum magnesium alloy, and you can see the way they bent the edge over there to give it strength. And down inside there's a steel bar that runs through the inside to give it rigidity, so that the keyboard resists twisting or potato chipping or flexing. It's remarkably thin yet remarkably firm. It's very rigid. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart by any means. It doesn't feel plasticky. As much as I like to keep calling this the G915, and it is the G915, it's actually the G915 LIGHTSPEED. It says so right there, and I keep overlooking that. So this is actually the G915 LIGHTSPEED. I had my thermal camera out and figured, what the heck, let's just take a quick scan across the keyboard. And of course there's really nothing to see there because keyboards don't usually get hot. But if I put my hand on the keyboard, you will see the residual heat from my fingers that stays behind. The G915 LIGHTSPEED is populated with these GL mechanical switches. These are very low profiles, specifically designed by Logitech. Over here is an old standard GX switch. And over here on my G513 Carbon is the Romer G switch. And it has a very different feel and sound to it compared to the GX, which is a much taller switch. It certainly has a nice feel to it, and you can hear it when you actuate it. But these, you can really hear it. You can definitely tell when it's being actuated and released. It has a very firm, crisp feel to it. And you can see the difference in construction there between the two different styles. Logitech developed these switches with a switch manufacturer called Kaiwa. They're based on the chocolate line. Now I have the microphone very close to the keyboard so you can get a better feel for the sound. It's very consistent. And now I will move the microphone away so that you can hear the sound from a more reasonable distance. Now I'm about 1.5 feet away from the microphone. You can definitely hear that the keys are being depressed and released. It has a very mechanical sound, but it's also a very pleasant sound. I like that. And the G915 LIGHTSPEED will be offered with 3 different versions of these top 3 switches here: the GL Clicky, the GL Tactile, and the GL Linear. And this just shows a comparison between the total travel, actuation distance, and then the force. And again, I've got the Romer G on my G513 keyboard. You can see the travels a little more, while the actuation distance for that switch is the same. Looking at the 3 flavors of switches here in a little more detail, we have the Tactile, or Tactile, however you want to pronounce it. Next is the Linear. You can see there's not much difference between the two other than the color of the switch. But when we get to the Clicky, that's where things change a little bit. course, this graphic here is scaled a little differently, but you'll notice there's no extra spring. There's the main return spring and there's no spring, but here we have an extra spring. And there's actually a little tab right here on the side of the switch. And the feedback that Logitech got was that people wanted a more audible click, a more positive sound, and also have the tactile feel. So what they did is they added this secondary spring here, and there's also a little tab on the side of the switch. So as the end of the spring pushes back and forth over this tab and it snaps into position, you get the extra click. And that's what this little sample spring here is. That's how you get that click. I'm going to try and zoom in here and get my big fat fingers in and actuate the switch. And you will see the little spring as it rides over that little cam that sort of sticks out. Each time it rides over that cam, it snaps, and you get that nice, audible, classic clicking sound. Regarding battery life, Logitech says it takes about 3 hours to fully charge the battery. And once it's charged, you can get up to 135 days of use, 8-hour days, with the RGB turned off, so you're not using any of the LEDs. If you want to go with color wave, you can get up to 12 days of use at 8 hours a day. Of course, your mileage will vary depending upon which lighting effect you use. So you might have to experiment a little and see how that goes, but those are the specs from Logitech. And you can always monitor your battery status condition through the G-Hub software. Now I'll talk a little bit here about the software and some of the features that you can access. Now, since I have both of my keyboards plugged in, I have my old G513 and the new G915 plugged in, they both show up on the screen. But we are going to look at the 915. Now, all of the keys, as with most of your RGB keyboards today, you can assign a different color to every single key if you want. There was a time when you had LED keyboards and you either had one color of LED or you could cycle through the colors, but you had single color for everything. You either went all blue, all red, all yellow. You didn't have any choices, but now that's all changed. The keyboard comes with 7 standard built-in lighting effects, but you can certainly go in and start playing around with all the different presets. You can change the brightness, you can change the rate that things cycle. You can get in here and make all kinds of adjustments. So you can spend a lot of time playing around and finding the effects that suit you best. You have freestyle where you can really have some fun there and select the different colors. Well, the other thing I wanted to show is the gaming mode. Right here, there's the key on the top of your keyboard there. You press that and it goes into gaming mode, which disables these red keys here so that you don't accidentally bump into Windows mode while you're gaming. But you can also go in there and select whatever keys that you would like to be disabled in that mode if you like. And then you can actually go back to the default settings. Now, for your battery, up here at the top right is your settings button. You push that, now I can look at my battery. I can see how much charge I've got. Now I've got it plugged in and it's been charging, so I'm at 100%. You got a low battery mode, so you can set the keyboard to go into a certain function where it'll start breathing red, or just the logo will go into breathing mode, or you can turn it off altogether. But anyway, when the battery goes below 15%, you'll get a visual indication that it needs to be charged. The inactivity lighting, I sort of went over that earlier. The defaults are, after 1 minute, it'll dim by 50%, and you can change these parameters here. You can turn it off altogether so that it doesn't go into an inactivity mode. The lights will always stay on. And then the all lights off after, again, the default was 5 minutes, but you can come in here and select different increments of time, or you can turn that off altogether. The lights would be on all the time, so you'll just take a hit on your battery life there between charges. And we have some other features over here for onboard memory mode. You can look at your firmware version all of that is accessible here through this screen. Now we go back to the main screen here, and down here at the bottom we've got some other cool things. You can go to the Logitech G website. I like this one here. You can look at other people's lighting effects that they've created, and you can create your own and save them also. But they've uploaded them, and you can sort of scroll through here and look at all the different lighting effects people have made available, and you can download them for your system and check them out. And also, up at the top next to lighting, so if you're in lighting mode, you can switch over to profile mode, and you can look at profiles that people have uploaded, and you can check those out also and see if any of those appeal to you. You can download them and check them out. So with the lights off, we'll take a quick look at some of the lighting effects. This one here is Ripple that I've selected, and any key you hit, it sort of bursts out from that point left and right. That's an interesting effect. And you can of course change the background color on that. One of the other presets here is the color wave, which is of course a classic. I'll move the camera in a little bit so you can get a little better view of the lighting effects. The camera doesn't really capture the true nature of these LEDs. They look a little more washed out on the camera. They're much more vivid when you're in person. Selecting a mouse or a keyboard or a headset, those are all very, very personal things, very subjective. So, you know, when you describe it to somebody, it's kind of hard to say until you actually experience it yourself. But I can say after spending some time with this keyboard, it is awesome. It's absolutely amazing. Now, pricing on this keyboard, and again, there are two versions. This version here, the wireless, is $249. Now, that is a lot of money for a keyboard. But this is not just any keyboard. This is like the Mercedes of keyboards. And the G915, which I did not review, I only did the 915, but it is essentially the same keyboard. It's just not wireless. It does have a pass-through USB on it, and it's about $50 cheaper, so it comes in around $199, call it $200. But you're also getting the accumulation of all the evolution of keyboards over the years, and this is where we are today. So it's a top-of-the-line keyboard. The engineering that went into this, it's hard to really condense that all into words because there's a lot that went into this to get this low profile, to get everything condensed down with the low profile keys, to the magnesium aluminum top frame here, to the stiffening bar that goes on the inside. They've also machined out the inside to allow relief or little pockets for the various components on the PCB board, to take advantage of every fraction of a millimeter that you could to get this thing shrunk down. I also like these feet. You got the two-stage feet here, so you can select two different levels. The way you've got the ability to use the little receiver here by itself plugged into the computer, or you can sort of do this little plug in and get sort of like a little remote receiver. The battery life, all the different functionality with the G-Hub software. I mean, you remember keyboards from years ago, it was just a keyboard and that was it. Well, we're at a whole different level now. And really, I just don't know where you would go from here. Logitech has really raised the bar so high, I don't know how you can improve upon it. They really hit the ball out of the park. The selling points for me on this keyboard, beyond the attractive design and the low profile, really it's the key action. It's so tight, it's so crisp, it's so consistent across all the keys. It's a big deal to me. So again, I think Logitech has a real winner here with the G915. So this is Chris with Overclockers Club. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.